I've always been a big horror game buff and I'm always on the lookout for new ones to enjoy, so when I saw Cursed Feed on the eShop I thought, this one looks like some Paranormal Activity type shit, a movie series that, unlike some, I actually rather enjoyed, and so I decided to give it a go. The game apparently had you playing as a paranormal investigator, watching camera feeds and unearthing the horrors which occurred at a small town residence, but could it deliver the scares that I was looking for, and was it worth my time and cash? Well, drop a like, subscribe for more Switch content, and let's find out. Now, Cursed Feed opens with a creepy little main menu featuring a distorted TV screen with a creepy looking presence displayed on it, which kind of reminded me of The Ring, so far so good I thought. But there's not much in the way of settings in the game apart from a brightness slider, the ability to invert the controls and some sound settings. Getting into the game though, I immediately appreciated my decision not to play this one on stream, because as you can see, the frame rate in the game is absolutely atrocious, running about 20 frames per second I'd say, but it's playable at the moment at least, and so I set off to explore the abandoned property. Now I'll start with the very few positives that this game has, because there are in fact a couple. The first being that the overall atmosphere is pretty decent for a horror game. The house is dark and creepy with blood-splattered walls and appliances left running as though the residents just up and left, and the ambient music adds to the tension, giving an overall sense of foreboding. Unfortunately, the same can't be said about the ambient sound effects, which bring the whole audio experience down, as random knocks and creaks are played out, but these are just played on a loop and the sounds are just as loud when you're outside the property as when you're inside it. The overall concept is also pretty neat. I like the idea of setting up some cameras, monitoring them for paranormal occurrences and then recording your findings whenever you see something dodgy happen. But again, unfortunately, it's the execution of this concept which really lets the game down. And I'm gonna now talk you through exactly what happens, because despite there being spoilers, by the end of it, I guarantee that you won't actually want to play it anyway. So the very first steps in Cursed Feed are to set up your cameras, which can be found in the back of the van, and you simply need to make your way around the house and place them down in predetermined locations. Throughout your time playing, your character will record his actions and observations, speaking into a dictaphone, and it has to be said, the voice acting is very mediocre in this one, but these at least stand to give you some kind of directions on what to actually do next. After setting up your cameras though, it's then time to return to the van to monitor them, and it's here where the first hiccups start to appear, because you have 8 cameras in total to scroll through, but there's not actually an indicator of when something happens on one of them. You simply need to keep scrolling through them until you spot something out of the ordinary. Now I initially began by giving them 10 seconds each and then moved on to about 30 seconds each, but after about 10 minutes of nothing happening, I decided to just flick through them randomly hoping to catch something, and eventually I did. But from what I can tell, these are not actually live feeds of the cameras and are instead just pre-recorded footage loops, and at certain trigger points one will then switch to a different pre-recorded segment. My first paranormal activity though was the repeated slamming of a door in an upstairs laundry room, and so I headed out to investigate. Upon arrival though, my character witnessed nothing out of the ordinary and stated that he would just return to the van to monitor the cameras some more, so back to the van it was. The following 30 minutes was then spent scrolling through the cameras looking for anomalies, and each time one played out, I could then scratch that camera off the list and observe the remaining ones, but for each of them, I first had to head back into the house to investigate and report my findings. Here's what I witnessed though: the slamming laundry door, some kitchen utensils flying off the worktop, a dead crow and some worms next to the living room chair, a creepy bitch wailing in a bedroom mirror, some blood dripping from a bedroom ceiling, a bunch of flies in the hallway, some paper on fire in the office, and finally a spirit-like presence mincing about at the top of the stairs. After entering the house for the final time here though, things went a little tits up as the furniture started to go apeshit and some tense music began to play, and I found that the stairway was blocked by impenetrable cobwebs. It's here though that the game loses all sense of direction, and after wandering around for about 5 minutes, I finally stumbled across a not so scary jump scare, and the house suddenly began to fill up with blood. A short while later, I then got another random jump scare and drowned. Or so I'd wished I'd drowned, because I soon awakened in frame rate hell. After watching my character crawl to his feet, the entire house had transformed, with satanic markings painted on the walls and hospital equipment strewn about the place. But simply navigating this horrorscape was a nightmare in itself as I crawled along at 5 frames per second. Now, struggling my way through the whole ordeal, I was forced to answer multiple phone calls from friends and family members of the father of the house, and as the choppy voiceovers cut in and out, I was able to make out that after performing some sort of forbidden ritual, he'd gone apeshit and decided he was gonna kill his family. But proceeding upstairs, I eventually hobbled my way into the main bedroom where I encountered this skeletal looking woman clutching a headless doll. Now initially she just laid there and did nothing, but after attempting to leave the room, I was then dragged back in as the camera went fucking mental, and upon approaching her for the second time, she suddenly stood up, which I presume was supposed to be another jump scare, but she then just stood there as though she'd been hung by an invisible rope and did absolutely nothing. Exiting the room and exploring further yielded nothing of interest, and upon returning to the room she'd vanished. But I couldn't work out where to go next, and quite honestly I couldn't care. I just quit the game and came to write this review. So, as you can see, a sound premise here but absolutely atrocious execution, with everything from the gameplay to the horror elements to the performance severely lacking, and I have no idea how these fuckers had the nerve to even release the game given the state that it's in, because unplayable is not the word for it. It's a shame really, because it could have been so much better. But if you're looking for a decent horror game on the Switch, then sadly you won't find it with Cursed Feed. That though just about does it for this review. So let me know your thoughts down below, and consider subscribing for more Nintendo Switch reviews. But for now, thanks to the patrons of the channel for their ongoing support, and to you the viewers for watching, and until next time, take care of yourselves and game on.